Yeah, yeah, that's fine. That's just amazing. Amazing. Oh my goodness. So my live got disabled randomly. Um, I have no idea. It was like live chat has been live has been disabled because of bad connection, and then it was like, oh, actually, it's disabled because you're not following guidelines or something. I have no idea. So hopefully it works on this one. We'll see, I guess. See, my brother did something weird with the bookmarks, so now I don't know where we left off. Oh, he switched the bookmarks. So now my bookmark is this pro-life bookmark. So, and this one, I wasn't doing it on this one originally because my live kept turning off. I was like, my live chat kept turning off. So I was like, what the heck? I gave my brother this bookmark and he just decided he was just going to switch them. He was like, oh, I like the other bookmark better. Okay, well, so now I'm confused and I thought this was where I was. He's this far into the book. So he's on Pete's Castle. So he's catching. We're on Buzzard Willie's Kid. You remembered. Oh my gosh. That is so amazing. Okay. I'm hoping my chat will stay on, but he was like, Veronica, did you know that Poto attacks a Quiltiggle or something? I was like, I've read the books thousands of times. Yes, I know. um so this is chapter 39, Buzzard Willie's Gift. Oh my gosh, I also made a Wing Feather Saga 1. It's in my Percy Jackson book, I think, but I'm gonna start using it when we read North or Be Eaten. So, chapter 39, Buzzard Willie's Gift. Lily and Nia looked up at the ceiling of their hiding place, alarmed at the commotion that they heard. Footsteps, many footsteps, running, pounding, shuffling. A scuffle followed by a loud crash sent dust floating down on them. Lily started to sneeze, but Nia clamped her hand over her daughter's mouth. Nia could only guess what was happening above them, and it couldn't be good. She felt like a trapped animal. There was nowhere to turn, and she had no weapon with which to fight. She held on to Lily, and they backed as far into a corner as they could and waited, praying. The footsteps clunked slowly towards the hatch, and Nia breathed a sigh of relief because it sounded like Oscar when he had busied himself in his study earlier. Maybe he had accidentally knocked over a shelf in his rush to salvage more important books, but then she heard a voice, and it wasn't Oscar's. Nia squeezed Lily tight. The trapdoor was drawn slowly open, and they squinted up at the bright light streaming in. Nia's eyes adjusted, and she saw the slight silhouette of Zuzab. I can't stand him, bro. He actually rage baits me almost as much as Bonifer. Like, him and Bonifer would be best friends, I'm saying. Oh, Nia sighed. Zuzab, it's just you. Oscar was just. Nia's breath caught in her throat when beside him another slight figure appeared, another ridge runner. They both smiled at her in a way that made her blood run cold. Here they are, Sergeant, Zuzab said, and a fang leapt into the chamber as Zuzab and the other ridge runner scurried up to the top of the bookshelf. What? What? I'm so shocked. It's almost like he wasn't suspicious from the beginning. The cottage door slammed behind Janer and Tink as Slarb the Fang emerged in the lamplight and shoved them across the room. The boys crashed into one another and went sprawling to the floor atop the burble-skinned rug. The air was knocked from Janer's lungs and he doubled over, water streaming from his eyes. He was dimly aware that Tink was moving beneath him. When he was able to open his eyes, though through the blur and stars in his vision, he beheld Slarb slowly moving their way, a long curved sword in his scaly fist. Slarb was ragged and thinner than before. Dirt was caked between his scales, and his skin, rather than the usual cool green, had a ghostly pallor, like old lettuce dying in a gutter. Oh my gosh. They were just like... A stench surrounded the fang like a cloud of insects. To Janner, it was the smell of madness, of murder. Slarb's scaly skin hung from his frame like an ill-fitting costume. His time in the wild had changed the evil creature, if possible, for the worse. Igabees! Going to the ice prairies, are you? Going to try and escape with the jewels? Oh, don't look so surprised. I watch and listen. I hide in the shadows. I know that the Igabees have the jewels, and now that Norm has failed, I will do the work that he could not. I will bring the jewels to the Nameless One, won't I? Slar pointed the sword at Tink and looked at Janner. Because if you don't tell me where the jewels are, boy, I'll think of something horrid to do to your dear brother, see? I know you came here to fetch them, and I know you're planning to run. Slarb's voice grated like stone on stone as he watched the boys with glowing, hungry eyes. Slarb! Tink had recovered from the blow and scrambled to his feet as Slarb took another threatening step closer. Janner was thinking hard for a way out. Slarb was blocking the front door, and the way into the kitchen was just to the right of the fang. To the left was a window. It was possible that one of them could make it through before Slarb could strike, Janner thought, but only one of them. Even if they did somehow scramble through, Slarb would run them down in a matter of seconds. Janner could see nothing nearby that could be used as a weapon, unless the fangs had an unknown fear of burble skin rugs. There was nothing they could do. Janner's legs were trembling like leaves in a windstorm. Where's Grandpa? He thought desperately. How long could it take to get the wagon? Agile as a cat, Slarb lunged forward, grabbed Tink's hair, and threw him back to the floor. In the same motion, he seized Janner's arm and wrenched him close, pointing the tip of the sword between the boy's eyes. Tink cried out and struggled to move, but Slarb had one clawed foot on his back, pinning him down. Janner labored not to breathe the sharp odor that enshrouded the creature. Where are the jewels of Anira? Slarb whispered, breathing so close to Janner's face that his hair moved. Janner could hold his breath no longer and gagged. Slarb twisted his foot on Tink's back, and Tink cried out again. If you want your brother to live, tell me where the jewels are hidden, boy. Janner looked wildly around the room, too afraid to pray or fight or think. Then came the rattle of the wagon approaching the cottage. Janner drew in his breath to cry out, but Slarb clamped a cold, moist hand over his mouth. Not a sound, the fang said, lowering the tip of the sword to rest on the back of Tink's neck. Janner waited in agony as he heard Poto grunt his way towards the wagon and tap clunk to the front door. The footsteps stopped. They heard a shuffling sound just outside, and then Poto grunted like he was lifting something. Janner? Tink? Poto called, entering the cottage with a large wooden trunk in his arms. He stopped dead in his tracks when he saw Slarb standing over Tink. If you move, old man, I'll kill them both, Slarb said, eyeing the trunk greedily. His tail flitted about the floor beside Tink. The fang hissed and steaming globs of venom dripped sizzling onto the floor. Tink whimpered. Poto stood frozen. Through the haze of fear and the stink of Slarb's hand over his mouth, Janner managed to wonder dimly where the trunk and Poto's hands had come from. In one motion, Slarb whipped Janner in front of him and wrapped an arm around his neck, using Janner as a shield from Poto. What's in the trunk, old man? Don't know, Poto said, his voice level. Now you let the lads be, and we'll settle this, you and I. Slarb laughed and squeezed Janner tighter. The only way to settle this is for you to give me the jewels, old man. So I'll ask you again. What's in the trunk? It's a gift from Buzzard Willie, back in town. I don't have a notion what it is, Lizard. You're a bad liar, old man. Poto lowered his voice. You'll not live past this night if you hurt either of me lads. You've not to see my wrath when it's stoked proper, nor do you want to. Poto took a step closer. Slarb growled and twisted Janner's head sideways, baring the side of his neck. The fang opened his jaws wide and drew his dripping teeth closer. A look of defeat came over Poto's face, and he drew back a step. Please, no. I beg ye, Poto pleaded. Don't. Slarb smiled a hideous smile. Good. Now put the trunk down and move away. Poto did so. Oh, hi. Literally, like what? Poto did so, and Slarb edged across the room, still clutching Janner from behind. Tink got to his feet, and he and Poto watched helplessly as Slarb crouched down to unlatch the trunk. Janner was wondering what Slarb would do when he didn't find the jewels in the trunk. The look of worry on Poto's face was what scared him the most. If Poto didn't know what to do, what could possibly be done? The latch on the trunk clicked open, and Janner strained to see. Now we'll see these jewels have caused so much trouble. Slarb smiled a wide, sickening smile as he lifted the lid. 30 of the angriest, hungriest garden thwaps ever to breathe the air of air we are, poured out of the box like a furry plague. Janner wrenched himself away and tumbled to the floor. The thwaps covered Slarb from head to foot, chattering and squealing in such a cacophony that Janner and Tink held their ears. Slarb looked like a giant furry. Slarb looked like a giant furry burble doll, careening about, crashing into walls, lunging to and fro. Poto snatched up Slarb's blade and drove the fang through the door and into the kitchen. The brothers listened anxiously to the riotous sound of Poto's battle cry, Slarb's shrieks, and the thwaps' squeals. Chapter 200. Oh, that's the page. Chapter 39. At last, Poto emerged out of breath and spattered again with the green fang's blood. He saw that Janner and Tink were unharmed, and he smiled, his eyebrows lifting in a happy way that gave Janner hope they'd make it out of Glipwood alive. One of the angry thwaps scurried out of the kitchen, but Poto growled and booted it back. Remind me to thank old Buzzer Willie, eh? That rascal. Poto disappeared into his room while the boys busied themselves gathering extra clothes and rolling them up in a blanket. Janner was glad he didn't need anything from the kitchen. He didn't want to see Slarb's bony corpse in the room where he'd had so many glad meals with his family. The boys made bedrolls for Lily and Nia and carried them along with their own to the wagon. Immediately, Janner sensed something was wrong. A smell in the air or some subtle sound on the wind that he couldn't quite place. I know, I love this. He looked down the lane towards the town and saw in glimpses the orange glow of hundreds of torches at the edge of Glipwood Township. Grandpa, he cried, come quick. Poto bounded out of the house with a bundle over his shoulder. What is it? Janner pointed. Now you could make out hundreds, maybe thousands of torches in columns snaking off into the dark distance, moving towards Glipwood from the east, from Fort Lamdern. So soon? Poto whispered. Make her help us. Okay, we'll read another chapter. This is chapter 40, Betrayal. With a fierce look in his eyes, Poto threw the bundle into the back of the wagon and mounted it without waiting for the boys. They scrambled in as Poto said, "Hyah!" to Danny the cart horse, who whinnied and tore towards Glipwood. Janner's eyes watered in the wind as he watched the sweeping boughs of Glipwood's trees whiz by. He prayed to the Maker that Lily and Nia were still safe. He prayed to the Maker that Nia and Lily were still safe. I know, we're almost done. He wondered how they possibly would escape with Nia and Lily, if indeed the Fangs had overrun the town. He looked up at Poto, at the white hair flying out behind him, bluish now in the moonlight, and felt better. Maybe Poto didn't have a plan, but knowing that his grandfather was with him, even in the face of the Fangs of Dang, made Janner feel like he could be more than he was. He drew strength from the old man, like water from a well, and rested in it. He looked admiringly at Tink, who had found a fang sword among the remains in the wagon and was holding it in two fists, clenching his jaw. Only 11 more, you're right. Oh my gosh. Poto reined up the horse when they could see the torchlights among the buildings in the distance. Whoa, Danny boy, easy now, he whispered. He motioned for Tink and Janner to follow and disappeared into the brush beside the road, fast as a thwap. From where they stopped, they could dimly see the lampposts on Main Street, and they could hear a mixture of chatter, laughter, and movement that was oddly familiar. Janner realized with a shudder that the last time he had heard such a volume was when the town was full of hundreds and hundreds of visitors for the Dragon Day festival. Could there really be that many fangs in Glipwood? Janner grabbed a sword of his own from the wagon. Like the weapons in Inkle Jelly Manor, it was heavier than he expected. He felt his youth in its weight. He tried to look confident for Tink, but his little brother was already moving in the shadows beside the road after Poto. All right, lads, Poto whispered from a leafy cover. Listen up. I need you to be men, you hear? They both nodded. There's strong blood in your veins, and if you trust me and let the Maker guide you, we might live to see the sun lifting this morning. I'm making this up as I go, so you follow me close and do as I say. No questions. If we get separated, then meet at a place called Inkle Jelly Manor. Janner and Tink instinctively glanced northward. Poto raised an eyebrow. I see you know where I'm talking about. And you've probably been there from the look of it. Jane looked down. There's a lot we need to talk about after when this all blows over, I reckon. But don't you fret about it now. You know I love you boys. And I love your mother and sister too. Besides, they're a right bit prettier than you look. Why does Poto talk like this? I can't read this. Oh my gosh. They're a right bit prettier than you louses. I can't do this. This is making me feel dyslexic. So we've got to get them back. You hear? We're gonna get them and make like mad for Ankle Jelly Manor. Other than that, we'll just see how the leaves fall. You clear? Yes, sir. The brothers said in unison. Without a word, Poto again vanished into the shadows. Janer and Tink followed through the gardens and fields behind the buildings facing Main Street. They hopped a fence, and Janer was again surprised at Poto's nimble speed. They halted between two buildings and had their first clear glimpse of the street. Fangs were everywhere. Some stood in formation while a ranking officer bellowed orders at them. Others milled about, drunkenly laughing or fighting with one another. Some sat and dozed in the very alley they were looking through, only a stone's throw away. It was clear that the Fangs had just arrived and were out of order. You already knew. You must be following along. Jaren's pulse quickened, and he felt the danger anew. One noise, one Fang looking into the wrong direction at the wrong time, and they would be found out, caught like flabbits in a snare. 2 fences ahead lay the field behind Oscar's shop. Poto vaulted over another fence and beckoned the boys on. With a last look down the alleyway to be sure no Fang was watching, Tink and Janer followed. They made it to Oscar's yard without incident and hunkered down with their backs to the trunk of a fat tree. Poto peeked around the tree while the brothers fought to catch their breath and calm their nerves. Oscar's door's open and there's... Oscar's door's open and the lantern is still burning inside, he whispered. I can't see other than that. We ought to be able to make a run for the rear of the building. Then it's just a matter of sneaking around the corner and through the door. You lads ready? Oh, hi. Sorry, I'm on a different account because the old one just randomly disabled my live for some reason. I don't know why. They sprinted to the safety of the shadows of their rear end of books and crannies. Poto nodded at his grandsons with a proud wink. He looked around the corner and down the alley. After a few seconds, he motioned for the boys to follow. With a last deep breath, they turned the corner and darted through Oscar's back door. Poto's growl told Janer that his mother and sister had been captured. No. The trapdoor stood open and black like an empty grave. Poto stood over the hole, breathing hard and rumbling in a way that made Janer fear he might actually explode. I'm sorry, came a weak voice from behind them. They whipped around to see Oscar and Retief lying on the floor beside the desk with a bleeding wound in his chest. He was pallid and feeble, his glasses hanging askew on his round face. He coughed. Poto knelt at Oscar's side and grabbed his limp hand. What happened? Poto gently pushed a damp swath of Oscar's stringy hair out of the old man's eyes. Zuzab betrayed us. In the words of Chonk, Oscar breathed, I should have known. Poto bowed his head, half in rage and half in sorrow. He signaled to Lamdern with his whistle during the battle. Janer remembered the shrill sound they'd heard just after Commander Norm died. Oscar winced and coughed again. Only another Ridge Runner could have heard it at that distance. All these years he's been watching, spying. He only stopped the black carriage with his sling so that we would think we had more time. But he saved us with the rocks in the alley, Tink said. Yes, he did, because he suspected. Oscar's eyes drooped and his voice broke. Suspected what? Janer thought. How do you know all this? Poto asked, his rage getting the better part of his sadness. Zuzab told me, Oscar rasped. He told me after the Fangs took Nia and Lily. He knelt right where you're kneeling now and told me everything. Oscar faded with every breath. I'm sorry, old friend, the jewels. Keep them with you. Hold fast to them. I will. By the Maker, I will, Poto said, squeezing Oscar's limp hand. My foot fell asleep. Oh my gosh. Ow, 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 ow. Oscar's eyes widened and focused on something above and behind Poto. Janner looked up in time to see Zuzab vanish into the labyrinth of bookshelves. It's him! Janner cried, with a roar. With a roar, Poto bounded after Zuzab, books toppling over in every direction. Janner, Tink, listen, Oscar said weakly. They bent over the old fellow and strained to hear him over Poto's mad search for the Ridge Runner. Oscar gripped Janner's arm. It's too late. He's too fast. In a matter of seconds, Zuzab will have already informed the Fangs that you're here. You have to go now. Run. Run. Janner's heart broke for his mentor. He couldn't imagine leaving him to die, leaving Poto to be captured by the Fangs, or leaving Lily and his mother to whatever fate Nag had for them. His mind was a flurry of memories of old Mr. Retiep, who had taught him to love books, who had given him his first journal. Tink stood quietly behind Janner and bowed his head. Run, Oscar breathed, his weak eyes pleading with them. Choking back tears, Janner turned to go and collided with the hulking, smelling body of a Fang. Okay, the next chapter is A Rumble and a Screech. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening to my live. I think I really love the attention to detail in book 1, how like it illustrates the fights in such a like it in such a detailed way. And I think it's a lot more violent, but I also think it's a lot more like in-depth, interesting, really like makes you visualize what's happening, and I think it's really interesting. So I hope that goes good, Hannah. I hope everything's okay there. But like seriously, I love the visual, the imagery in book 1. It's so good. Because it's slow, but it's also attention to detail. Like Peterson put in such like detail to put in little works, and I just think it's really good. I really like it. Yep. So I'm thinking of doing like a long live where I read the last 10 chapters. So I don't know if that will be next time or if that'll be the time after, but I'm going to do like a long live where I read like 9 chapters and just finish book 1 because we need to get it done. We need to get to Northrop BEN. Like we're running out of time, guys. So I'm exhausted. Well, tomorrow's Fat Tuesday, so I'm really excited. I love Fat Tuesday. Yeah. So since tomorrow is Fat Tuesday, I could do it tomorrow. I might do it tomorrow. Oh, Fat Tuesday is the day before Ash Wednesday, which is when Lent starts. So Fat Tuesday, it's like, why is it called Fat Tuesday? So during Lent, you're supposed to fast, which means you give up sweets. So like you don't have to, but you give up something. So I'm giving up sweets, which means no sweets, no soda, no cakes, no candies, no cookies, no ice cream, nothing like that until Easter. So tomorrow is the last day that I can basically have junk food. And so it's called Fat Tuesday because you're supposed to eat all of the junk food in your house before Lent starts. And Lent is just a time of preparation before Easter. So I'm going to make a couple videos about Lent on my lifestyle channel. So if you want to know more about it, then definitely check that out. But basically it's like a celebration day where you can eat, where I eat a bunch of junk food because I don't eat junk food until Easter, starting on Wednesday. So I'm excited for that. And it's like a little celebration for me because Lent is like it's like a sad waiting period for Jesus's death and then resurrection. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions about Lent, I am gonna make a couple more videos, so definitely stay tuned for those. I'll probably make one on Ash Wednesday. But yeah, so I'm so excited. So I might be starting to make more. I'm also not gonna be on my phone and on YouTube a lot during Lent. Like I'm gonna be on it, but not as much. So yeah, so I'll see if I can do a big one during Lent and see how that goes. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's gonna be great tomorrow. I'm excited because we get these donut things called punch skis, and there's like these donuts, and they're so good. And we only eat them on Fat Tuesday. They're literally the most delicious things ever. So I'm super excited. Anyways, yeah. So let me know when. If you guys have any ideas on when I should make that big live, because we'll have a party. Like we will have a party, guys, making this we're gonna finish this book and we're gonna read the last 10 chapters all in one sitting. So stay tuned for that. I'll make a post on when I'm gonna do that, and I hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for watching. I love you. Bye.